My husband is the most formidable divine physician in the world. He is a childhood companion who is unparalleled in the art of poison crafting. The two have engaged in a playful exchange of toxins and antidotes for over a decade, until the day I was afflicted with a lethal poison that nearly claimed my life. Upon awakening, he was penning a prescription while lamenting, "Do not hold any ill will towards A.E. She is merely accustomed to her childish whims and did not intend to harm you. She knows I possess the ability to save you, hence her deliberate provocation towards me." No sooner had he uttered these words than he was hastily summoned by Shen Yi. He departed in such haste that he failed to notice a crucial ingredient missing from the prescription. The long-dormant system was finally activated. Only by perishing at the hands of the male protagonist can one return home. If the antidote goes awry and transforms into poison, the host may choose whether to consume it. I handed the prescription to the maid with a smile, saying, "Take this and prepare it." 1. When Wei Jingxi returned, the maid had just brought over the medicinal brew. The steaming concoction enveloped his countenance in a misty haze. He removed his outer robe and smiled at me, saying, "What a coincidence. Were you waiting for me to feed you?" As he spoke, he took the medicine and approached me, skillfully scooping a spoonful, blowing gently on it before offering it to my lips. I gazed at him in a daze. After so many years, I could finally go back. Noticing my stillness, he raised an eyebrow slightly, asking, "What is the matter?" "This medicine is most effective when consumed hot." I smiled silently, reaching for the bowl and tilting my head back to drink it all in one go. Perhaps I had been too hasty. As I began to cough incessantly, Wei Jingxi, both amused and concerned, patted my back and chuckled. "Why the rush? No one is snatching it from you. Why are you so obedient today, not insisting that I feed you?" I straightened my posture and managed a slight smile, replying, "No need. It won't be necessary in the future." He looked momentarily taken aback, his expression gradually dimming, his voice growing solemn. "Are you still angry with Ian?" He sighed and reached out to embrace me. "She is merely being childish. Her nature is not malevolent. Since you are fine now, let it go." I subtly evaded his touch, my voice flat. But what if I had truly met with misfortune? He froze, then shook his head helplessly, a muted laugh escaping his lips. With me around, how could that possibly happen? Indeed, my husband is the most formidable healer in the world. There is no poison he cannot resolve. Over the years, Shen Yi had poisoned me numerous times. From severe ailments that left me blind and mute to minor rashes and diarrhea, all easily remedied by Wei Jingxi. How could this time be any different? He gazed at me, his peach blossom eyes sparkling with a gentle mirth, exuding an air of indulgence and affection. It was as though my suffering was merely a farcical play to him. How did it come to this? In the beginning, he had cared deeply. At the onset of our marriage, Shen Yi had laced my drink with a flower known as meishenzing, causing rashes that made me itch severely. Wei Jingxi had been furious, detoxifying me before brandishing his sword, ready to sever all ties with Shen Yi. Yet, merely 3 days later, he succumbed to her tears. Shen Yi attempted to hang herself. When he arrived, she had knocked over her stool, deep red marks etched around her neck. Wei Jingxi, fraught with both fear and surprise, held her tightly, filled with guilt and compassion. "She is merely expressing her distress. She did not intend to harm you. Yuan, let this matter rest." Upon returning, he rubbed his temples in exhaustion, informing me then that he had once promised Shen Yi a betrothal. He had vowed that if he had not found his beloved by the age of 20, he would marry her. Alas, on his 20th birthday, he encountered me and fell in love at first sight. Shen Yi, in her madness, created a ruckus, and he sent her away to the southern frontier, wholly intent on marrying me. It is only fair to consider her feelings, Yuan. As husband and wife, let us make some concessions for her, shall we? From that moment on, I retreated and yielded time, and again until today, when she administered lethal poison to me. 2. The system suggested that Wei Jingxi harbored feelings for me. If I were to show reluctance, I could simply allow him to discover an error in the prescription, and he would undoubtedly feel immense guilt and strive to atone for his love for me. I shook my head in silence. What use was his guilt to me? It was hardly a valuable commodity. But, host, did you not abandon your desire to return to the modern world? I fell silent. Indeed, Wei Jingxi treated me exceptionally well. making it seem impossible to fulfill this task of dying at his hands. With no ties to home, it seemed more sensible to remain by his side. Yet, I had forgotten that hearts are fickle and old acquaintances are hard to find. No, I shall return home. After all, it was merely a month's worth of medicinal broth. I could afford to wait. 3. Shen Yi wished to come and apologize. I instinctively declined. That is unnecessary. She never brought good tidings whenever she visited. Wei Jingxi held my hand tenderly, his voice laced with affection. How could it be unnecessary? You are my first wife. I cannot allow you to endure grievances. I lowered my gaze. Had it been in the past, I would have felt moved, but now I merely felt disgusted. People often said that Wei Jingxi, the divine physician, treated all equally, nobles and commoners alike, exuding the virtue of a gentleman. Even in personal matters, he maintained neutrality, ensuring fairness and avoiding any criticism from others. Unfortunately, his desire to remain loyal to both the Buddha and his beloved ultimately led him to fail in both endeavors. Shen Yi presented me with a cup of wine. The peach blossom brew, fragrant and alluring, appeared intoxicating. I did not accept it. I was allergic to peach blossoms, a fact known to Wei Jingxi. Shen Yi surely understood this as well, given that the same flower had caused my previous rashes. Wei Jingxi winked at me. Drink it quickly. Rest assured, I have prepared the antidote and you shall not suffer. Be kind. She is merely here to apologize at my behest. It is normal for her to express a little displeasure. Since she has agreed to apologize, do not dwell on the minutiae. I smiled knowingly, took the peach blossom wine, and, under his watchful gaze of approval, splashed it across Shen Yi's face. The wine trickled down her head, mingling with her incredulous expression, leaving her in a most disheveled state. Wei Jingxi abruptly rose, staring at me, his usually gentle face now a stormy shade of gray. Perhaps he was on the verge of departing, his frustrations finally resolved, no longer wanting to bear the past grievances. I smiled faintly. I have said before, I do not require an apology. Do not summon me again for such pretentious displays of harmony. 4. Wei Jingxi stormed out. He was furious and did not return for several days. In the evening, the maid dutifully brought me medicine, hesitating before speaking. Once I finished drinking, she finally voiced her thoughts. Madam, although the master has not returned, he sends someone daily to ensure you take your medicine. He said that Shen Yi's poison is potent, and missing a day without the antidote could be disastrous. He insists I keep a close watch on you. The maid's expression was complex. Madam, the master still cares for you. I felt a slight tug at the corners of my mouth. So, he was so afraid of my demise. I could only imagine the expression on his face when he realized that it was his own prescription that had poisoned me. Cough, cough. I attempted to laugh, but instead, I coughed up blood. The crimson splatter on the wooden table startled the maid, and my vision darkened as I fainted. Indeed, with multiple toxins intertwining, my body was deteriorating rapidly. I feared I might not last even a month. When I awoke, the sky had darkened. Under the candlelight, Wei Jingxi looked frantic, about to reach out to check my pulse. He appeared disheveled, his clothes dust-laden, as if he had just returned in haste. Caught off guard by my eyes fluttering open, he froze, quickly retracting his hand, his expression darkening. What Qingyuan, when did you learn such tricks? I told you my antidote could not possibly fail. If you wished for me to return, you could have simply said so. No need to feign unconsciousness. I tucked my wrist back under the covers, turning away. My response cool and indifferent. If you do not wish to come, then be gone. That was close. I had nearly been discovered. He was momentarily at a loss, but his expression softened. One hand rested on my shoulder, his voice gentle. All right, why are you still sulking over such trivial matters? If you dislike it, I won't call her here again. You keep mentioning going to Jiangzhou. How about I take you back there in a few days? My heart stirred, and I nodded. My adoptive parents resided in Jiangzhou, and I had always intended to visit them again before returning home. Having him accompany me would be quite agreeable. 5. Unfortunately, he was unable to accompany me. On the day we were to depart, an outbreak of plague erupted in Liang City. Wei Jingxi was called to the front of the carriage. He looked at me with a pained expression. Are you on? I smiled in understanding. It's fine. You should go. Several citizens bowed to me, saying, "Madam is noble." I boarded the carriage without looking back. Wei Jingxi is a divine physician. Such occurrences have been frequent in his life. Life and death are of paramount importance, a reality I have never taken lightly. The matter of human lives should naturally take precedence before all else. Yet I never anticipated that everything could be placed before me, with Shen Yi taking precedence over all matters. Wei Jingxi still journeyed to Jiangzhou. Upon my arrival, he was in a state of utter disarray, engrossed in testing medicines. His embarrassment was palpable when he saw me, and he sighed with a sense of helplessness. That mischievous girl, Ai, has caused quite the uproar, using a few innocent citizens to test the poison. I must hasten to concoct the antidote.
And what of the plague?
I fixed my gaze upon him. Wei Jingxi hesitated. There are others involved. It was clear to me that he had not ventured to Liangqing. Shen Yi's practice of poisoning the populace had become routine. She administers the poison, and he provides the cure. This back and forth had morphed into a peculiar pastime. I had attempted to dissuade him, yet Wei Jingxi merely smiled indulgently. What can I do? She is my junior sister, and I can only indulge her. It was on that day that I realized, even the benevolent Wei, a healer for the masses, could regard human lives as insignificant when it came to her whims. By the pond, I encountered Shen Yi leisurely feeding the fish. She cast a provocative glance my way, tilting her chin defiantly. I told you long ago that as long as I desire it, my senior brother can be by my side whenever I wish. Do you believe me now? I closed my eyes momentarily. Those are lives at stake. She raised an eyebrow, and what of it? My senior brother has assured me that regardless of the mess, he will always resolve it for me. Besides, they are but ants. If my senior brother can heal them, it is their fortune. I refrained from responding. Sooner or later, she would learn that these ants would inevitably demand a price from her. I had already collected evidence of her actions, and before I departed, I would present it to the court. Wei Jingxi busied himself for a time and finally succeeded in creating the antidote. After treating the citizens, he rushed to the authorities to plead Shen Yi's case. Once all was said and done, he finally remembered to seek me out. Yi wishes to explore Jiangzhou City. I will take her tomorrow. Would you care to join us? He looked at me with a beaming smile. I shook my head in refusal. His disappointment was evident. Yet he also breathed a sigh of relief. I had matters of my own to attend to, specifically preparing items for my sister-in-law who was about to give birth. Perhaps Jiangzhou was too small, for not half an hour had passed before I encountered them. My brows furrowed slightly, and I lifted my foot to depart. Does my senior brother prefer a boy or a girl? What if I give birth to one he does not like? My body froze abruptly, and I turned rigidly. Before the small window of the Golden Jade building, Shen Yi was gesturing with several rose gold locks. Wei Jingxi's complexion drained of color as he cautiously covered her mouth. What nonsense are you spouting? Be careful, lest someone overhear. Shen Yi pouted. What is there to fear? She will find out sooner or later. Blood rushed to my head, nearly causing me to lose my balance. It turned out that Shen Yi had been entangled with him since the day she apologized to me. Shen Yi had poisoned herself, and only through consummation could it be undone. One was ablaze with passion, while the other was half-heartedly yielding. Wei Jingxi hesitated before speaking. Wait a moment. Let me think of how to explain this to Yuan. I could no longer contain myself and nearly fled from the scene. After returning to my room, my eyes were still rimmed with red. I believed I had steeled my heart sufficiently, but how could years of affection be so easily forgotten? A metallic sweetness crept into my mouth. I wiped my lips, spitting blood, and my stomach twisted in pain. The slumbering system suddenly awakened. Host, I have good news. If you take another bowl of medicine today, you will be beyond recovery, and even the greatest deities cannot save you. You will no longer need to worry about being discovered by the male lead. I collected my handkerchief and smiled in response. Is that so? That is indeed splendid news. After dinner, Wei Jingxi returned. He approached me, concern etched upon his face. Are you unwell? Your complexion appears rather pallid. I turned away from him. It's nothing. Perhaps I just haven't taken my medicine yet. Why is today's medicine taking so long? I shall go check. I was momentarily stunned. Just as I was about to stop him, I saw Chioer bringing the medicine. I breathed a sigh of relief as Wei Jingxi took the bowl with a smile. This medicine is rather bitter. Do not be lazy. It is a life-saving remedy. Here, let me feed you. This time I did not snatch it away, but allowed him to feed me mouthful by mouthful. Wei Jingxi, this final lethal potion is administered to me by your own hand. I fell into a deep slumber, drifting between dreams of returning to the modern world and reminiscing about the days spent with Wei Jingxi. Upon waking, he was not by my side. I did not inquire further and, after breakfast, prepared to visit my foster parents. Just as I was about to exit the second gate, I heard Shen Yi's frantic shouts. Wait. How long must I wait for you? Are you so afraid of Hua Qingyuan? You clearly promised me that you would not approach her until after the child is born. I saw you leaving her room, and you even kissed her. Wei Jingxi's face flickered between shades of white and blue as he spoke in a hushed tone. I told you, she has not been well recently. Could you not wait for her to detoxify? At most, within a month, I will give you an explanation. I tugged at the corners of my mouth, finding it amusing. What difference did it make whether it was sooner or later? Thus, I stepped out. No need to wait a month. Let us address it now. Wei Jingxi abruptly turned around, his handsome face paling instantly.
Yuan.
In the study, our eyes met. Wei Jingxi gazed at me, his expression rife with anxiety. That night was an accident. Shen Yi was poisoned. If I did not save her, she would die. Yuan, I had no choice. I could not bear to watch her perish before my eyes. Later, it was too late for me to distance myself from her. She carries my child, after all. My own flesh and blood. Yuan, I could not bring myself to abandon her. He was always in a dilemma, perpetually helpless and always excused. He had countless reasons, yet I no longer wished to hear them. Speak. Favored concubine or primary wife? He was momentarily taken aback. I calmly repeated myself and added, or, if you wish for me to relinquish my position as primary wife for her, I would not oppose. He hurriedly reached for my hand. How could that be, Yuan? The position of the primary wife will always be yours. I promise that even if Shen Yi enters the door, she will never surpass you. I curled my lips into a smile. It seems, then, that it shall be as a favored concubine. That is acceptable. His eyes widened in surprise, sparkling with delight. Yuan, have you agreed? I nodded with a smile. From now on, whom you marry or love will no longer be my concern. He exhaled deeply, wrapping his arms around me, his voice thick with emotion. I knew it, Yuan. You are the most virtuous and magnanimous, and you will not hold it against me. Do you not know that I feel guilt in my heart? These days, I have been unable to eat or sleep, pondering how to explain to you. And I have lost weight. Yuan, you must help me recuperate. A wave of nausea washed over me, and I discreetly pushed him away. Enough. Hurry and explain to your little junior sister. Due to my pregnancy, the wedding date was set rather soon. Within just over a month, Shen Yi was welcomed into the household. Bolstered by the child within her, her temperament grew increasingly capricious. Whenever Wei Jingxi was present, she would strive to compete with me. From the size of my courtyard to the smallest jade hairpin, she sought to challenge me on every front. Whenever there was even a hint of hesitation from Wei Jingxi, she would wail and protest, claiming that she was entrusted to the wrong person and that her child was at risk. She is pregnant and anxious, lacking a sense of security. It is merely a matter of trivial objects, Yuan. Do not hold it against her. Wei Jingxi would soothe me. Naturally, I did not take offense. I would not be able to take these items with me when I left, so I simply moved to the side courtyard for peace. However, I did not expect that even solitude would be so elusive. Shen Yi fell into the water in front of me. When Wei Jingxi arrived, she was thrashing about in the water. After much difficulty, he pulled her to safety, only for Shen Yi to cling to her belly and weep, accusing me of harming her. It was a blatant and glaring attempt to frame me. I wanted to laugh, yet found I could not. Wei Jingxi fixed his gaze upon me with an intensity that felt as though he sought to penetrate my very soul. His concern for the child was palpable, a truth I was acutely aware of, as was Shen Yi. In the confines of our chamber, he paced with his hands clasped behind his back, his countenance a portrait of distress. I refrained from offering explanations, nor did I harbor any desire to do so. After a lengthy silence, He came to a halt. His dark eyes clouded, his voice gravelly. I know you are not responsible for this. Yuan, you are my wife. How could I not comprehend your nature? You would never stoop to such depths. I raised an eyebrow, a flicker of warmth long absent beginning to resurface. Yet in the next breath, the chill returned. But she has used her pregnancy to entrap you, which proves her genuine fear of you. Yuan, you should apologize to her, concede to her demands. I laughed, nearly to the point of tears. Wei Jingxi, are you out of your mind? He closed his eyes and let out a long sigh. I know I owe you an apology, but Yuan, I have no choice. She insists that you must pay a price. What price? After a moment's hesitation, he turned his head. She claims that if you take the contraceptive, this matter will be settled, and she will no longer pursue it. As he spoke, he looked at me with earnest intent. Yuan, your body cannot bear another child. Even if you were to drink it, it would not matter. Would you do this for her sake, just this once? A wave of cold washed over me, and I managed a forced smile. Wei Jingxi, you know why I cannot conceive. Time had dulled the memory, but I had once carried a child. Alas, within a month. I lost it, a consequence of that bowl of peach blossom congee. The rash did not mar my appearance, but cost me my child and extinguished any hope of future motherhood. I understand. I am at fault. He hung his head, his fingers pressed against the table, knuckles white, revealing the turmoil within. It struck me then how much he had withered since Shen Yi entered our lives. Wei Jingxi inhaled deeply, his gaze fixed on me once more.
Yuan.
She hails from humble beginnings and lacks understanding, yet you are different. You are educated, virtuous, and exceptionally empathetic. You cannot have children anymore. And I cannot bear to watch her wreak havoc, jeopardizing this child. Just this once, if you yield to her. She has promised that she will take better care of herself and will no longer trouble you. Yuan, consider it my plea. Her child will also be yours. Think of it as for your own flesh and blood. With a resounding slap, I could no longer endure his words, silencing him with a single blow. I stepped closer, enunciating each word. Wei Jingxi, you make me feel sick. Having failed to achieve the desired outcome, Shen Yi resorted to wailing and throwing things, shattering items in the courtyard. In an attempt to placate her, Wei Jingxi revealed my inability to bear children, yet it did not bring her any solace. I don't believe you, brother. You must be lying. You are fond of that wretched Hu Qingyuan. You refuse to give her the contraceptive because you want her child, not mine. Shen Yi was hysterical, pounding her abdomen with fervor. Wei Jingxi, alarmed and fearful, hurried to embrace her, whispering soothing words. Chaos erupted once more. When Qiu'er came to inform me of these events, I was busy consuming painkillers. Perhaps due to the impending return of my ailment, the poison had begun to act more swiftly, and at times, the pain was nearly unbearable. I swallowed the pills, feeling a slight relief in my stomach. As the pain gradually subsided, I managed a faint smile. See, there's certainly a commotion. Shen Yi's nature was brazen and domineering, her possessiveness overwhelming. When she did not get her way, she could restrain herself somewhat, but now that she had, her true self was laid bare. Her tumultuous demeanor would likely prove unbearable not just for Wei Jingxi, but might also jeopardize her own pregnancy. Sure enough, within a few days, Wei Jingxi sought me out. Beneath the eaves, he appeared pallid and gaunt, having lost considerable weight in a short span. He regarded me with an emotionless gaze before stating, Yi has lost her child. I met his gaze, offering no response. Are you satisfied now, Yuan? His voice was flat, yet I discerned the storm he was suppressing. I remained silent. In the next moment, he struck the doorframe with a fist. His dark eyes bloodshot with rage, fixing me with a look that was both resentful and furious. Hu Qingyuan, when did you become so cold-hearted? If you had only been willing to apologize, how could Yi have ended up like this, and how could she have lost her child? At this point, do you feel no remorse or compassion at all? Only then did I realize he was attributing Shen Yi's miscarriage to my actions. It was almost laughable. Did Wei the divine doctor inquire whether your esteemed junior sister felt even a modicum of guilt or sorrow when I lost my child? She acted without malice. I retorted almost instinctively. Is it that she is ignorant and you are not? After speaking, he seemed to realize something, waved his hand dismissively. and stepped back, his expression despondent and defeated. Enough, discussing this is futile. I will stay with Yi during this time. Do not come to the front courtyard to provoke her. Once she has recovered, I will see you. Take care of yourself. Wei Jingxi kept his word. Since that day, he never stepped into my courtyard again. I heard that under his careful attention, Shen Yi was slowly recuperating, her emotions stabilizing. Meanwhile, my own condition deteriorated, the pallor of my complexion becoming increasingly pronounced. Qiu'er was both delighted and concerned. Madam Shen has greatly improved. The divine doctor should come to see you now. You must ensure he examines you thoroughly to ascertain why your illness is worsening. I smiled faintly, remaining silent. It seemed as the system had foretold. Even the most exalted deities could not save me now. Being discovered by Wei Jingxi was of little consequence. At last, on the second day following Qiu'er's remarks, Wei Jingxi arrived. Yet he did not come to examine my ailment. Instead, he came to deliver me to prison. Yi's actions in Jiangzhou, poisoning the populace, have been uncovered. I have been implicated for not going to Liangcheng to combat the plague on her behalf, and now I have been summoned by the emperor. She is newly recovered and cannot handle any distress. I have informed the authorities that the incident in Jiangzhou was your doing. The populace is aware that I was meant to escort you to Jiangzhou, Yuan. If you take the blame for this incident, I will not pursue any past grievances. He looked at me, his expression complex. As dawn broke, the mist enveloped his face, and for the first time, I seemed to truly perceive the man before me. The initial thrill and wonder of our first meeting, the tenderness beneath the flowering crabapple tree, the vows exchanged on our wedding night, all the memories flickered through my mind, ultimately crystallizing on his cold, unfeeling visage. I recalled the crabapple blossom beneath the hopeless mountain that I should never have accepted, yet I did, a mistake spanning many years. After a lengthy pause, I heard my own voice say, "Very well." To my surprise, my agreement came swiftly. He paused momentarily before nodding. "It is best that you understand. Rest assured, you are my wife. They will not harm you. At most." He pressed his lips together, leaving his words unspoken. Indeed, as the divine doctor, he was favored by the Empress Dowager. They would not dare mistreat his wife, and at worst, I would face only a brief imprisonment. In exchange, I demanded a full jar of painkillers. He appeared somewhat anxious, inquiring where I felt pain. I feigned a smile, saying, "My heart aches." He fell silent, lowering his head. I chuckled mockingly, brushing past him. I was merely jesting. "Marrying you has become my greatest regret." The figure beside me suddenly stiffened. On the day of our departure to the capital, I took not only the painkillers but also a brocade box. Within it lay a collection of the deeds performed by Shen Yi and Wei Jingxi over the years. The current Empress Dowager favored Wei Jingxi, yet the emperor was not a man to be trifled with, should he discover the extent to which these two had toyed with the lives of the common folk. He would surely not let them go unpunished. What I must do is bring these matters before the imperial court. This also happens to be the reason I made a promise to Wei Jingxi. The process has gone remarkably smoothly. The only unforeseen complication was the painkillers. Wei Jingxi deceived me. The contents of the medicine jar were not painkillers, but rather the spring pills intended for amorous encounters. Thus, when the emperor inquired about my desires, I requested a prescription for pain relief from the Imperial Medical Institute. The poison has been manifesting with increasing frequency, and the pain occasionally becomes so unbearable that I feel as though I might welcome death itself. My complexion has turned as pale as parchment, and even when venturing out to procure medicine, I must shield my face with a veil, lest I frighten passers-by. It was during this time that Shen Yi made her appearance. With a cheerful smile, she pointed at a particular herb in my hand and joyfully called out, "Husband, I found it! Here is the Hishowu." She has grown considerably more robust, her complexion more radiant than usual. It seems my absence has indeed allowed her to thrive. Following her call, Wei Jingxi strode over, casting a glance at the scene before him and joining in the laughter. "You're being foolish again. Can't you see this lady has already purchased it?" Shen Yi pouted and shook his arm, insisting, "I don't care. I want this." Wei Jingxi sighed, helplessly pinching her nose, and then turned to me with a deep bow. "My wife requires this Hishowu for her medicine. Might I implore this lady to part with it?" Should she agree, I am willing to pay double the price. The silhouette of an old acquaintance overlapped with the figure before me, and I hazily recalled how he had once made similar requests on my behalf. Yet now, it is I who is being beseeched. I smiled faintly, my hoarse voice far from melodious. What if I say I am unwilling? Wei Jingxi's form froze abruptly. At that moment, Chior appeared, anxiously rushing to my side. Madam, why did you come out alone to buy medicine? It made me worry. Wei Jingxi shifted his gaze to her, quickly returning to me, his voice slightly trembling. A yuan? The veil fell away, revealing my ghastly pale face. What does Physician Wei mean by this? Are you attempting to seize my belongings to gift them to others? He was momentarily taken aback, about to deny it when he noticed Shen Yi's eager expression. He pursed his lips and replied, You know nothing of medicine or poison. What do you need this Hishowu for? I scoffed coldly. What business is it of yours? Have I yet to inquire of Physician Wei when the painkillers in this jar became spring pills? I retrieved a small jar from my sleeve and tossed it onto the table. Wei Jingxi's face flushed with embarrassment as he turned his head away, muttering. It was Yi who mischievously switched the medicine. I thought it harmless since you needed pain relief, so I did not question it.
Shen Yi,
Curiously opening the jar with a grin. Sister, why are you so upset? It's merely a diversion for you. Once again, it was Shen Yi. Remembering that all my recent suffering stemmed from her meddling, a wave of intense irritation surged within me. I don't know where I found the strength, but I seized the pills and forced them into her mouth. Very well, let me provide you with some amusement. She choked on several of the pills, coughing violently. Wei Jingxi yanked me aside, staring at me in disbelief. Hu Qingyuan, have you gone mad? Supported by Chior, I barely managed to regain my balance. I have indeed lost my sanity. I should have lost it long ago. The precious Hishowu never returned to my possession. After disappearing for 3 days, Wei Jingxi finally came to see me. His eyes were shadowed, his steps unsteady. It seemed the few spring pills had nearly drained him. Within a few paces, he looked at me as I coughed, a flicker of concern evident in his gaze. A yuan, why do you look so unwell? Have you suffered any grievances in the palace? I could not rest easy about you. I intended to come to the capital to find you, but Yi insisted on accompanying me, claiming she wished to concoct a new poison. That's what delayed me. Noticing my silence, his eyes darkened further as he continued. Now that you have safely left the palace, let bygones be bygones. Let us 3 live harmoniously from now on. Yi is naive and straightforward. Yet she harbors no ill intentions. I hope you can be patient with her and guide her, and things will improve. In a few days, it will be Yi's birthday. She comes from humble origins and has never celebrated her birthday grandly. I wish to throw her a magnificent feast to affirm her status as my wife. Qingyuan, I hope you will take the trouble to help organize this. Yi will be grateful. I couldn't help but laugh. Why should I seek her gratitude? What relation does she have to me? That I should be accommodating toward her? What audacity you have, Physician Wei. To my surprise, my blunt refusal left Wei Jingxi's face flushed with embarrassment, rendering him speechless. I had no intention of prolonging the conversation. Instead, I retrieved a sheet of paper from my sleeve, laid it upon the table, and sighed. Let us part ways. Wei Jingxi. If possible, I wish to sever all ties with this person before my departure. Wei Jingxi lifted his head, staring at the 3 characters written on the paper in disbelief. You wish to divorce me? Is it because of the Hishowu? Or perhaps because of Yi's birthday feast? Yuan, even you wish to quarrel with me? I had no desire to argue with him. I simply handed him the ink and brush, stating earnestly, Sign your name, and then you will know whether I am causing a fuss. His face oscillated between shades of pale and flushed, and in the end, he turned and stormed out without a word. Wei Jingxi was furious once more. He moved Shen Yi into the villa where I resided and ostentatiously prepared for the birthday banquet. The villa was abuzz with festivity, while I remained isolated and neglected. To make matters worse, I had the prescription but no medicine, making my afflictions even more unbearable. Chior attempted to sneak out to procure medicine but was promptly turned away. The steward coldly remarked, Without the lady's permission, no one is allowed to leave. This lady referred to Shen Yi. To irritate me, Wei Jingxi had deliberately placed her in charge. As I writhed in pain, I wondered when I might finally succumb to death. The system hesitated, responding that it should be soon. I sighed. Perhaps this was the price I had to pay for remaining in this world. Blood and tears had taught me this lesson. Men are not to be trusted. Chioer, having suffered some grievance, came running to me in tears. My lady doesn't he believe me? I said you are gravely ill, but he claims you are merely causing a scene, asserting that you are perfectly fine and cannot possibly die. He even said that if you made a mistake, you should personally go to seek his forgiveness. Yet my lady is bedridden. As her words fell, a figure appeared, coldly smirking. I want to see if it's true. The moment his gaze met mine, it suddenly froze. What has happened to you? I knew my skeletal form must have shocked him. His face drained of color, his pupils constricted, and the fingertips that reached for my wrist trembled. The pain was gradually subsiding. Perhaps I was indeed nearing death. I attempted to smile, but was caught off guard, coughing up blood instead. Wei Jingxi's expression turned to one of utter disarray, and in the second before I closed my eyes, I beheld his face, filled with panic and despair. How wonderful! Perhaps I could finally die. As my body drifted in the air, I heard a chorus of wails below. Wei Jingxi held me, desperately checking my pulse, his lips muttering. How could this happen? I had clearly detoxified her. How could it come to this? Chioer knelt weeping on the ground. My lady used your prescription. Not only did she not improve, but her condition worsened. I thought to ask you to take a look, but my lady insisted it was nothing. Wei Jingxi suddenly sprang up, his eyes wide with alarm. The prescription. Where is the prescription? Chioer produced a piece of yellowed paper. I carefully followed each ingredient while preparing the medicine, yet my lady remains unwell, sobbing. Wei Jingxi's fingers turned pale as he grasped the paper, and in a state of confusion, he looked around desperately, murmuring to himself, "This is wrong. How could one ingredient be missing? How could it be absent?" Chioer, confused, asked, "What is missing?" The muscles in Wei Jingxi's face seemed to stiffen as he suddenly slammed the paper down on the table, tilting his face skyward in tears. His voice hoarse. He shou wu. So it was the he shou wu. How fortuitous. I suppose I have not yet departed from this world. The soul lingered suspended in the air, showing no intention of returning to the modern era. The system was rather displeased. So, you are indeed a divine healer. Even the deceased can be brought back for 2 days, it remarked. I felt a pang of helplessness. Surely, I wouldn't truly live again, would I? The system resolutely shook its head. Impossible. At most, 2 days. You will inevitably be reduced to nothingness, or rather, your soul shall return to the modern world. Very well. I decided to wait a little longer. My body had likely become akin to a living corpse, capable of breathing and swallowing, yet devoid of speech or movement. Wei Jingxi held me close, as if cradling a long-lost treasure. Despite my silence, he tirelessly administered medicine and tended to my needs, speaking to me with gentle patience. Yuan, it is my fault. I have wronged you. I will bring you back, trust me. I have given you painkillers. You shall feel no more pain. I have procured the he shou wu again, and I have rewritten the prescription. This time it is infallible, just look. He produced a pristine prescription and placed it before me. A bitter taste filled my mouth, and I promptly expelled it all over the prescription. His face paled, but he forced a smile as he cleaned up. It's all right. We shall write another. Self-deception is a dull endeavor. A servant arrived with news that the lady had come. His countenance darkened in an instant. What lady? Your lady is right here. Shen Yi was halted at the door, her eyes brimming with fury. Senior brother, she is dead. Hu Qingyuan has passed away. You cannot save her. Wei Jingxi stared at her in stupefaction, and his eyes suddenly ignited with fervor. It is you. It is all your fault. If not for you, I would not have omitted a single herb, and a yuan would not have perished. It is all your fault. All of it. A yuan has suffered so much. She is in such pain. If you had endured even a fraction of this, a yuan would have returned if she felt joy. A nagging sense of discord tugged at my consciousness. The truth, as it turned out, was indeed amiss.
Vi vinci poisonet Shen Yi.
She broke out in rashes, lost her voice, and experienced the silent torment I once endured. He cradled my body, his expression devoid of emotion as he watched Shen Yi struggle. A yuan. Look, I have avenged you. You can return now, can't you? Even in my ethereal state, a chill ran through me. Wei Jingxi. He must have gone mad. The system was quite right. Wei Jingxi kept me for 2 days. After 2 days, a flash of white light enveloped me, and I returned to the modern world. I forgot all of this and began anew. The second year after returning to the present, I received news from the system. After my departure, Wei Jingxi had descended into madness. He began to toil day and night, crafting prescriptions, the most frequent being for He Shou Wu. When Shen Yi was taken by the royal family, she had already lost her humanity. Their transgressions were publicly revealed. Shen Yi was sentenced to execution after autumn. Wei Jingxi, spared his life by the Empress Dowager's protection, became a pariah due to his insanity. As the system concluded its tale, it bid me farewell. The past felt like a fleeting dream. I inhaled deeply, casting aside all remnants of memory. The sun shone brightly, heralding yet another new day.
The end.
Thank you for listening. Until we meet again in the next tale.